Hello, this is Faith at Faith and Books, and I'm going to sneak in a quick Friday reads, but I'm actually recording it on Thursday evening. So this is my 32nd wedding anniversary, and we usually go away, but of course this year it wasn't in the stars, so we just went out to eat at a local place we like to eat. And now we're home, and my husband's actually downstairs putting the little 5-year-old we take care of to bed, which is what he's been doing lately. He's been sitting with him while he falls asleep. Anyway, so I'm going to do a quick Friday reads. It's actually been a pretty good reading week for me, considering all the things that have been going on. And so let's see, I think that I'm finally taking off with the Compassion and Conviction read along. I have been reading with a friend of mine, Kathy, from my church, and I did finally hook up with Linda, the book lady, via Voxer. So I'm hoping that we'll coordinate enough to get it together. I'm halfway. This is a reread. I read this in the summer, and now I'm rereading it, and it's basically about well, it's called Compassion and Conviction, the AND Campaign's Guide to Faithful Civic Engagements for Christians. And it explores how Christians are supposed to interact in the public square. And so it's very pithy, very to the point, very well written, very clear, and very inspiring. So it really puts your priorities straight, I think. It's by Justin Giboney, Michael Ware, and Chris Butler. So I hope we're taking off for that. I think everybody's at a slightly different place in the book. I'm just sort of halfway through chapter 3. I thought I had finished chapter 3, but I don't think I did. So, yeah, I got to finish that up. Anyway, and hopefully we'll get a Voxer discussion going. It's taken me a while to get this off the ground, but that's okay as long as people read it. I'm fine with that. I had 2 other people from my church who are reading it but aren't involved in the discussion because they didn't know Voxer. They're afraid of it, and they just had so many things going on already. But still, they got the book and they're reading the book, so that's good. Anyway, so I did sort of make headway with this, and I'm happy about that. And then, so that's a nonfiction book. It's Nonfiction November. I did finish a nonfiction book that I had been reading during Victober because it was my Kindle read. I always have a book, or usually have a book on the Kindle so that, because I have chronic insomnia, if I wake up in the middle of the night or something, I want something that's backlit like this so I don't have to turn on a light and bother my husband. And so I just finished, let me show you the cover. Where do I do that? Hold on a second. It's called The Catholic Church Through the Ages. Oh, wait a second. How did I do that? Go to, come on, go to, oh, it's not cooperating. Things never cooperate when I'm trying to record. Come on, there it goes, it lit up. Maybe it's low on maybe the battery's low. Anyway, I'm trying to get to the cover. I should have set this up before I started rambling here. But anyway, it's by Bree, so it's biased. It's coming from a definitely pro-Catholic perspective. But I thought it was pretty good. It's a breezy read. It's not hard reading at all. You don't get bogged down in things. And he stops and he really focuses on things where he feels like the Catholic perspective needs to be balanced against what the typical history is, because he disagrees a lot with the way things are presented, certain situations or certain events. And he also wrote a book called 101 Questions about the Crusades and the Inquisition, so you can sort of see where he's coming from there. But what I liked about this book, I mean, I want to say a couple of things. One, I think that he sort of breezed, am I saying that right? He sort of breezed over some of the things that I think he should have talked about a bit more in his attempt to discuss the Catholic perspective. I think he sort of glossed over, that's the word I want, not breezed, but glossed over things that I think it would have been a little bit more credible if he'd given a little bit more detail or spent a little bit more time on that, because I think that I think especially priests, the institution and the hierarchy of the church, I really would appreciate it if they would, come off as a little more repentant than they often do. I wish they had like a 1 day a year Yom Kippur for the hierarchy. Once a year they'd have to fast on bread and water and pray all day or something. I really think they should do that. But anyway, even given that, he was trying to bring out a different perspective, and bring out more of the church's side of it and a more nuanced explanation of what went on. So I appreciated that a lot. And what I really liked about it was his bibliography, and he had a lot of good resources, like a lot of good footnotes. And it made me think of Bill Rutenberg at the Rutenberg Library, because he's always talking about going and looking at the bibliography, and that's what I did here. And he has some really good resources, and it made me want to, in my head I started listing other books I want to read about history that he cites from. And he cites some from Simon Schama. I think that's how you say his last name, a British historian who I think teaches over here now at Columbia or someplace like that. He's a well-known historian, and he cites other people too that I liked his bibliography a lot. So I thought it was a good book, a little uneven, but where he knew his stuff, he really could bring out nuance and an explanation of things that maybe doesn't get, kind of gets short shrifted in popular history. So anyway, I don't know if I'm being coherent. It's already 7 minutes. Anyway, I finished that book. So that's my first book that I finished in November. That was nonfiction. And then the other book that I've been reading is The Earth User's Guide to Permaculture. And I was really into this Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and I haven't read since. So I have to go back and finish reading tomorrow. And then I think what I'm going to do is try to summarize it in 10 minutes or less, just to help me study it, so that I can, if I re-present it, I think I'll absorb it better. So that's going to be a weekend thing that I do, either Saturday or Sunday, whatever day turns out to be a better day to report, to put up a video. So anyway, but I'm loving it. I love it, because it's not just, dry gardening or anything. It's a whole different approach where they apply ecological principles to how we grow our food, how we're going to sustain our food supply, and at the same time regenerate the earth. And it's really kind of profound. It's like it's a mind shift. It's a whole way of looking at the interconnections between all life. And so it's really, and this is just sort of a dry design guide. I mean, it's not really dry, but it's like more technical. It's not really the philosophy behind it, though she introduces you to the philosophy, because the design elements aren't going to make sense unless you know where it's coming from. So anyway, so that's going to be this weekend. I'm going to work on that. So that's my other nonfiction thing. So, and then the last thing, well, actually there's 2 more things. When I finished reading Bleak House, which I love so much, I really wanted to read another book like that. And so I went down into my study and I looked, and lo and behold, on the shelf, I had this, The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. So again, like Bleak House, I think I saw I didn't see all of it, but I saw part of the miniseries a long time ago, like maybe 1.5 episodes or something, and I happened to pick this up somehow. As a result, I don't even remember how I acquired this, and I never read it, and so I started reading it. So I have to adjust to, he's a little bit different from Dickens, and of course, because he's a different writer. And also, he's being a little bit more serious about the subject matter, I think. I'm only up to page 45. And there isn't anybody who's likable yet. So but I'm going to persevere. I am enjoying it, but it's slower going than I thought, and it's a little bit harder to get into than I thought. And I keep sort of wanting to compare it in my head to the way Georgette Hare approaches the same type of society, because it's about all the captains of industry and the industrial magnates and in British culture, mixing in with the nobles and the baronets and all those, the lords and ladies, and it's all about that society and all the corruption. Everyone's shallow and corrupt, and they gamble and drink too much, and they're so nobody's very pleasant yet. But Georgette Hare attacks those same things, those same themes, but she's doing it in the Regency period. But she does it with a lot of humor, like a kind of broad humor, and that's not going on here. This is more tightly crafted, and it's more solemn, and the humor is very subtle. So far, anyway, I'm gonna persevere. I'm gonna keep reading it, but I am having a little bit of trouble adjusting to the different style, because I was just so immersed in Bleak House. So it's a little bit of a cultural, I don't know, a little bit of a shift. So, and then the last thing is that I started The Fate of Fenella, listening to that on audio. And I didn't get it done in Victober. It's a novel that was written. That each chapter was written by a different author. So some of the authors were Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and Bram Stoker wrote Dracula, and Anthony Trollope's mother wrote one of the chapters, and Frances Marryat wrote another chapter. So some of the names were well known. A lot of them aren't. And each writer does something with the plot, like they're left with the plot from before, and so then they have to advance the story and put in their own twist. And some chapters are better than others, and I might be affected by the readers too, because I'm listening to it on LibriVox, and some of the readers are quite good, and some aren't so good. I was a little disappointed in Bram Stoker's chapter. I didn't think it was that good. But I'm still listening to it, and so I think I'm up to chapter 15 out of 24. So hopefully I'll get through it in November. I only listened to it a couple of days. I listened to a couple of chapters. So anyway, I'm going to keep going, though. I'm going to keep pecking away at it when I get a chance. So that's it. I got two fiction going, Anthony Trollope and The Fate of Fenella, the audio, and I'm gonna do another report on Earth User's Guide to Permaculture, and I finished The Church Through the Ages, or whatever it was called, and I'm finally getting started on Compassion and Conviction. So, all right, so that is it for my Friday reads. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember. It's too late. It's like 9 something right now. It's almost my bedtime. All right, so I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye.